Genoa is the capital of the Italian region of Liguria and the sixth largest city in Italy, with the more than 500,000 of population. Genoa was the capital of one of the most powerful maritime republics for over 7 centuries, from 11th to 18th century. Particularly from the 12th to 15th centuries, the city played a leading role in the commercial trade in Europe, becoming one of the largest naval powers of the continent and considered among the wealthiest cities in the world. The city identification shaped by opulent architecture, which reflects a city's cultural and historical past, fosters civic pride and harmony, and conjoining visitors' impression of the region. Let us go and see the palaces. The Doge's Palace is a historical building in Genoa. Once the home of the Doges of Genoa, it is now a museum and the center of cultural events and arts exhibitions. Presenting palaces of Genoa, we should begin with Via Garibaldi, or Garibaldi Street, or Street of Palaces, with its architectural wealth and imposing buildings, which is one of the main streets of Genoa and one of the largest as historic heritage. From the Garibaldi Street, one can easily turn in the direction of sea by narrow street through the old town. This part of Genoa is not as glorious as Garibaldi Street. Palazzo Rossa, or Red Palace, is a historic building in Genoa that was a residence of the Bignoli Sali family and now houses a museum of art and history. Palazzo Bianca, or White Palace, is the most ancient of 3 palaces on Garibaldi Street, Rossa, Bianca and Doria Tursi. It was built between 1530 and 40 for Luca Grimaldi, then was rebuilt in 1711 for the Brignoli Sali family, who in 1884 linked it to the city of Genoa. Palazzo Doria Tursi was built starting in 1565 for Niccolo Grimaldi. In 1597 it was bought by Giovanni Andrea Doria for his son Charles, Duke of Tursi, to which refers the present name. Since 1848, Palazzo Doria Tursi has also housed the City Hall of Genoa. The Royal Palace is one of the best museums in Genoa. There are several interesting rooms and the enchanting Hall of Mirrors, linked to video about which provided in the description. Royal Palace started life as a large patrician residence, first built by the Balbi family between 1643 and 50, and then by Durazzo family, who extended it on the edge of 18th century. When the Savoy family bought it in 1824, it it became the royal palace. The palace is one of the largest 17th-18th century architectural complex in Genoa, and its reception halls are decorated with frescoes, stuccos, paintings, sculptures, furniture and fittings belonging to the noble and royal families who lived there. The 16th century palazzo, commissioned by Francesco Grimaldi, became the seat of the National Gallery of Palazzo Spinola in 1958. It located close to the Garibaldi Street in the historical center of Genoa. In 1958, Marquis Paola and Franco Spinola donated the building complete with its furnishings, artworks, silverware, ceramics, etchings and books to Italian government. Palace Antonio Doria was built by the will of Andrea Doria in the 16th century and is now the seat of the prefecture of the city of Genoa. The Palace of Nicolosia Lamellina was built in the 16th century, and nowadays the palace, privately owned, is open to individual visitors as museum. Built adjacent to a hillside, it houses a marvelous secret garden filled with fountains, grottos and sculptures. The Palace of Andrea Doria was built between 1521 and 29 outside the city walls, is the richest and most sumptuous noble household of the city of Genoa. The villa was intended as a private residence of the Genoese admiral Andrea Doria, Prince of Melfi, who often hosted emperors, kings and other foreign authorities. The Alberti's castle is the historical residence in Genoa. It was the home of sea captain Enrico Alberto d'Albertis and was donated to the city of Genoa on his death in 1932. Palace Giancarlo Brignoli was erected between 1626-28 on the commission of Giovanni Battista Brignoli. Rebuilt in 1671 and now remains the property of Brignoli family. Today, Palazzo della Meridiana belongs to a private company and is home to temporary exhibitions, cultural activities and receptions. 16 rooms outfitted specifically for receptions, exhibitions, meetings and events. Palace of St. George is one of the most important and well-known historic buildings in Genoa. Initially called the Sea Palace, it was built to be designed by Cistercian architect and monk Friar Oliverio around the middle of the 13th century as a seat of the municipality. It then became the seat of customs, and in the 15th century it passed to the Bank of St. George, from which it took its name. In 1570, the palace underwent radical extension and renovation works that profoundly altered its original appearance. It currently houses the headquarters of the Port System Authority of the Western Ligurian Sea. This palace was built in 1562 by Baltasar Lamellina. Today it's known as Palazzo Campanella, taking the name of the ship owner who bought it in 1917. This palace these days stocks an incredible selection of contemporary furniture and household goods. The Palace of Lazzara and Giacomo Spinola was built between 1583-88 and has a unique feature of two distinct and symmetrical dwellings in one building. Lazzara and Giacomo Spinola were cousins, and construction of double palace was their choice. The uniqueness of the double construction is still highlighted by the presence of two identical portals facing the street. Palace of Angelo Giovanni Spinola. Its construction was commissioned in 1558 by Angelo Giovanni Spinola, ambassador of the Republic of Genoa to Spain and banker in Toledo to Emperor Charles V. The palace was completed in 1576 by his son Giulio, who also ordered in 1580 the excavation of part of the hill behind the palace to expand it with courtyard and a garden, now owned by the bank. Palace of Giambattista Spinola, designated to host high-ranking guests on behalf of the government during state visits. Andrea Spinola, who was 99th Doge of the Republic of Genoa, commissioned the construction of the palace in 1563. In 1723, the palace was purchased by the Doria family. Palace of Tobia Pallavicino. The building that now houses the Chamber of Commerce was built in the mid-16th century by the very rich Marquis Tobia Pallavicino and is the work of the architect Giovanni Battista Castella, known as the Il Bergamasco, who was up to date with the most recent architectural and decorative trends coming from Rome. Palace of Franco Lercari. It was erected from 1571 by Franco Lercari, a wealthy banker who held the position of governor of the Genoese Republic in the 1570s. In 1586, Franco Lercari left his entire estate to Francesca Maria Imperiali of Francavilla, with the obligation of also taking his surname Lercari. The palace through centuries used to belong to Lercari family until 1845, when the last Lercari descendant sold the estate to the banker Bartolomeo Parodi, whose family still owns it. Palace of Agostino Pallavicini. Originally built from 1558 on behalf of Agostino Pallavicini, ambassador to the court of Spain. The palace was passed into the ownership of the Cambiasa family around the middle of the 18th century. The building is currently owned by well-known banking institution. Hosting museums of former glorious architecture, paintings and sculpture collections is not the only modern function of palaces of Genoa. They are used for temporary exhibitions, cultural activities and social events, also as banks, hotels, administrative and apartments buildings. But for a visitor, 16th to 17th centuries palaces create a unique atmosphere of late Middle-aged dwelling. Beautiful architectural solutions and harmony of nature with master's creation. Thanks to well-preserved masterpieces, we can enjoy the beauty of the old city of Genoa.